Today we're going to be looking at EU mobility and EU citizens' rights, and this is a presentation by Claire Bradley of Europe Direct Eastleigh. The aim of this presentation is to demonstrate how EU citizens' rights such as mobility rights, youth policy, environmental policy and languages add value and help you make the most of the opportunities available across Europe. The four freedoms. The four fundamental freedoms are free movement of goods, free movement of people, freedom to provide services and freedom of establishment, and free movement of capital. And these are the four fundamental freedoms that we gain as part of EU membership. Historically, the four freedoms were associated with the internal market. However, recently, these four freedoms have come to be associated as benefits of UK citizenship. So what is EU citizenship? If you're a citizen of one of the EU member states, then you are automatically a citizen of Europe. This gives you certain additional rights. EU citizenship does not replace your national citizenship, but acts as a complement to it, giving you additional rights. So what rights do you have as an EU citizen? You have the right to move and reside freely within the EU. You have the right to vote for and stand as a candidate in EU elections. You have the right to be protected by the diplomatic and consular authorities of any EU country. You have the right to petition the European Parliament and complain to the European Ombudsman. EU citizens are entitled to other rights, including the right to contact an EU institution and receive a response in one of the EU's official languages, the right to access European Parliament, European Commission and Council documents, the right of equal access to the EU civil service, and the treaty also prohibits discrimination on the grounds of nationality. So where can I find details of my citizens' rights? You can find details of your citizens' right at http://europa.eu/your-Europe, or just type your Europe into one of the main search engines. SOLVIT is another good service to be aware of. SOLVIT helps citizens uphold their citizenship rights, and basically they act as a link between a citizen who's got a problem enforcing their rights and a public authority who isn't applying their EU rights correctly. This is a free service. You just contact them, submit the details, and they will then contact the public authority with whom you're having a problem, and they normally aim to resolve all disputes within 10 weeks or so. So it's a good service to know about if you're having a problem enforcing your EU citizenship rights. To find out further information on this, you can go to http://ec.europa.eu/solvit, which is solvit/site/about/index_en.htm. Europe Direct also helps inform citizens of their rights, and our Europe Direct web address is http://www.europedirect-eastleigh.org.uk. One of the rights that you have as an EU citizen is to move and to travel freely across Europe. And you can find details of the documents that you need to travel in Europe at http://your-europa.eu/citizens/travel/entry-exit/index_en.htm. As you've got this right to move freely across EU countries, one of the rights you have, free movement of people, enables you to look for work in other EU countries. So you can travel to other EU countries to find work, which means if the job market is bad where you live, you can travel to other EU countries to find work. Now, under the provisions of Directive 2004/38/EC, Member States are not required to give you any benefits whilst you're job seeking for the first 3 months. As a job seeker, you're expected to have enough money to support yourself so you're not a burden on the state. If you're not currently receiving any unemployment benefits and you want to look for work in another EU country, you will be entitled to social security such as health insurance, family allowance, etc. in your country of residence. Social Security Authority in the country you've moved to will make the decision on when you become resident and therefore entitled to Social Security cover. However, in order to qualify for residency, you will need to be either working, a job seeker who has enough money to support themselves so they're not a drain on the country they're moving to, or a student. Note, under recent ECJ judgment, you cannot simply move to a country in order to claim benefit where you have no intention of working. As an EU citizen, you also have access to jobs in the public sector in other EU countries. As an EU national, you have the right to work in another EU country, including in the public sector, that is, for example, in state-owned companies, government bodies, and public authorities. EU countries may still reserve certain jobs for their own nationals, but only if they involve the exercise of public authority and the safeguard of general interests of the state. This is important if you're looking for a job in another EU country, as the public sector is normally a very significant employer. Furthermore, if you've acquired professional qualifications, then you may need to get these qualifications officially recognised so you can work in another EU country. The authorities have 1 month in which to acknowledge your application and must make a decision within 4 months. To find out more on this, go to http://europe.eu/search/professional-work/professional-search/en.htm. As I mentioned earlier, SOLVIT is a free service that acts as a mediator between a private citizen and a government department where that department is failing to apply EU law correctly. And you can find more on this at http://ec.europa.eu/solvit/index_en.htm. Work permits. As a general rule, if you're a citizen of an EU country, you don't need a work permit to go and work in another EU country. Some countries such as Bulgaria, Romania and Croatia have transitional arrangements in place, and Switzerland also has slightly different rules. Switzerland's obviously not an EU member. The EU aims to support young people looking for experience, so if you're a young person looking to get experience working in another EU member state, you could join the European Voluntary Service. You can find full details on this at http://ec.europa.eu/youth/index_en.htm. Erasmus Plus also offers young people numerous opportunities. Erasmus Plus is the EU's new programme for boosting skills and employability through education, training, youth and sport. It provides opportunities for over 4 million Europeans to volunteer, work, travel and study in another EU country. And you can find more information on this at http://ec.europa.eu/program/index_en.htm. For example, you can study abroad with Erasmus Plus. When you go abroad to study via Erasmus Plus, you don't have to pay registration or tuition fees to your host university. Your studies abroad count as an integral part of your degree, and you get an EU grant towards living and travel expenses. So not only will taking part in Erasmus Plus save you or your parents the cost of tuition fees, which in the UK are high, but also you will get a grant towards your living and travel expenses whilst you're living in another EU country. I've taken part in the Erasmus program as a student, and I have to say it was an absolutely fantastic experience, and I would recommend anyone have a go at it. Erasmus Plus also gives you the opportunity to take part in joint degree programs. With Erasmus Plus joint degrees, you can enroll in a postgraduate degree program jointly offered by universities based in different EU countries, in certain cases even outside Europe. You study or conduct research in at least 2 countries and are awarded a joint, double, or multiple degree as a result. So if you're interested in taking part in that, the web address to look at is http://erasmus-in-plus-study-in-another-country/joint-study-in-plus-degrees_en. Erasmus Plus also offers partnerships beyond the EU borders. Erasmus Mundus scholarships can also support partnerships with universities from a range of countries and regions across the world. These partnerships provide scholarships for European students to study in non-EU countries and for non-Europeans to come to EU universities. You can find out more about partnerships offering scholarships for nationals of your country if you visit the partnerships website for more information on the courses it offers, and you can have a look at the entry requirements and calendar for application. Another opportunity under Erasmus Plus is vocational training. If you're in vocational education or training, or just finished your training and want to develop your job skills and employability through traineeship abroad, the EU's Leonardo da Vinci program may provide financial support. If you want to find out more information on this, just type in Leonardo da Vinci into the search engines and you should go straight to the program. Health. If you go to another EU country for work placement or vocational training, you must have comprehensive sickness insurance cover in your host country. If you're a student completing vocational training during your stay abroad, the European Health Insurance Card could be an option if you're eligible. Please apply for one with your home healthcare provider before you go. The European Health Insurance Card is free, by the way, and you can pick up the forms or details from the post office. Another opportunity, particularly for young people, is Erasmus for Young Entrepreneurs. If you fancy developing your entrepreneur skills, then the Erasmus for Young Entrepreneurs scheme may be for you. Under the scheme, you go and work for an entrepreneur in another EU member state, and the European Commission pays you a salary. So there's a strong incentive for businesses to take part in this scheme because effectively they're getting additional staff resources, but it's not costing them money. It also means that the students taking part in the program have more security because with the sort of economic outlook being quite volatile, it's always a concern for people what happens if I go and I travel to another EU member state and then I'm sacked. Whereas here, because the European Commission is paying your salary, you don't have to worry about the business suddenly running short on cash and not being able to pay you or making you redundant. So it's a really good scheme. Normally you can take part in businesses across Europe, usually for a period of up to 6 months. And if you want to find out more about this, you can go to http://www.erasmus-entrepreneurs.eu. So if you're one of the people who is suffering with youth unemployment, this might be an opportunity for you. Health. If you're employed in the country you're being trained in, you will need to subscribe to a local health care scheme once there. So what are your rights as an EU student in the European Union? During your stay, you should be treated as a national of the country, mostly as regards access to employment, pay, benefits facilitating access to work, enrollment in schools, etc. Even if you're staying as a tourist, you should not, for example, have to pay higher fees to visit museums or when buying transport tickets, etc. However, there is an exception to this principle. Under EU law, EU countries may decide not to grant you and your family income support for the first 3 months in that country, for maintenance grant for studies before you qualify for permanent residence. So if you're moving to another EU country for 3 months or less, then under EU law, you're not entitled to receive benefits or income support. It's up to each member state to decide whether to provide these benefits or not. You have the right to live in any EU country for the duration of your studies if you're enrolled in an approved educational establishment, you have sufficient income from any source to live without needing income support, and you have comprehensive health insurance cover there. National authorities may not require your income to be above the level that would qualify you for basic income support. Registration. During the first 3 months of your stay in your new country, you cannot be required to register to get a document confirming your right to stay, but you can do so if you wish. After 3 months in your new country, you may be required to register with the relevant authority, which is often the town hall or the local police station. Languages also give you opportunities. If you speak more than one language, you'll find it a lot easier to get work abroad. You'll also enjoy the experience of living abroad more. However, even if you only speak one language, such as English or French, you still have plenty of opportunities for working abroad. For example, if you only speak English, you could look at working in Denmark, Sweden, Ireland, Malta, Cyprus, and the Netherlands. If you also speak French, you could look at working in Belgium and Luxembourg, or obviously France. Under the Stockholm programme, EU's rights provision, citizens and their family members may exercise in full the right to free movement. Diversity is respected, and the most vulnerable groups of people, children, minorities such as Roma, victims of violence, etc., are protected, while racism and xenophobia are tackled. Also, under the Stockholm programme, the rights of suspected and accused persons are protected in criminal proceedings. Also, under the EU rights provisions, EU citizenship promotes citizens' participation in the democratic life of the EU through transparent decision-making, access to documents, and good administration, as well as guarantees citizens the right to consular protection outside the EU. So that means that justice rights form part of your citizenship rights too. And you can find more information about justice rights at http://ecu.euro.eu/index_htm. You can also find further information on this at https://e-justice.europa.eu and http://wjn-primja.europa.eu/EJN. And that first one deals with with your civil justice rights. The last one deals with your criminal justice rights. And the e-justice portal, which is the middle one, brings both of those two aspects together. But all of these guys, if you've got a problem to do with civil justice, enforcing a debt, trying to get money out of someone in another EU member state, any divorce cases, maintenance cases, that kind of thing, then
you should have a look at the first link that I've given you, which is the civil justice link. If you are looking for details on your right, your justice right to do with criminal matters, then you should have a look at the last link. If you're unsure which one you need to be looking at, if you go to the e-justice portal, that has both, and you should be able to work out from there. Conclusion. As an EU citizen, you have a number of mobility rights, and the EU is actively working to help people get jobs across Europe. The opportunities and the means are there. Basically, you just need the courage to take part.